I'd like to reopen our meeting from a closed session that we had a little earlier this evening and on economic development. At this time, well, first I want to thank everyone for being here. We've got a good crowd tonight. Sheldon Stevenson will lead us with our invocation. Steve.
I guess what I'd say at first, I want you to recognize the important role that I have. I have to bring a word from God to you, and that's an important role. But I want to say something that is very important, and I want to make sure that you think about this, that God cares deeply about our city, about the city of Morganton. Not just that it's run right, but he cares deeply about the city itself, and it's important. And therefore, he cares deeply about the work of the city council. So I'd hold that over you for that God cares about what you do as far as the city council is concerned. God is the source of our lives. He gives us our lives. He's also the source of our wisdom. He wants to guide us. And then I'll hold this before you. He wants to have us to have the right spirit toward those who disagree with us. I think that's an important thing as we work about. Anyway, God cares about each of you, each person on the council. And I think God provides satisfaction for each person who loyally serves the council. And I think also that God provides you with love and joy and peace and gratitude in your work when you remember God. For our thought tonight, I would like to hold before you a psalm. All religions that I know of hold closely to the Psalms. And so I would choose this, and I would have you think about how important it is to the city of Morganton. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he who hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people, and the sheep of his pasture. So enter into his courts with praise, and into his courts with praise, and into his places with his council, the city council, with thanksgiving. So bless the Lord, O my soul. The Lord is good, and his truth endureth forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Introduction of our city council. On my far right is Dr. Alfred Hamer, City Councilman Forrest Fleming, City Attorney Louis Vini Jr., I'm Mel Cohen, Mayor, Sally Sandy, City Manager, Sidney Simmons, City Councilman, John Cantrell, City Councilman, Kelly Russell, Recording Secretary, and we have Becky Brinkley interpreting for our deaf community. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We've got a great turnout tonight. At this time, and I consider it a very happy occasion for Karl Walden, but a sad occasion for public safety, because Karl has been one of the public safety officers I've always envied because of his knowledge that he had with the city of Morganton and what it took to be a superb and impeccable city public safety officer. I want to read, Karl, you can go to the podium while I read a resolution honoring you. Resolution honoring Karl V. Walden. Whereas Karl V. Walden was employed by the city of Morganton as public safety officer in the Public Safety Department on April 1st, 1985. Promoted to Sergeant, Public Safety on April 1st, 1991. Promoted to Captain, Watch Commander, Public Safety on September 13th, 1999. transferred to Fire Captain Services, Public Safety on October 10th, 2000, and transferred to Captain Field Operations, Public Safety on July 17th, 2003. And whereas Karl V. Walden has faithfully served the City of Morganton, the Public Safety Department has given of his time and efforts for the benefit of the citizens of Morganton for 30 years. And whereas Karl Walden retired from the City of Morganton as Captain Field Operations in the Public Safety Department on July 1, 2012. And whereas the Morganton City Council wishes to officially recognize his contributions of Karl V. Walden and express their appreciation for a job well done. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Morganton that the mayor present this resolution to Karl V. Walden. Adopted this the 6th day of August 2012. Mel Cohen, Mayor. Sally Sandy, City Clerk. Make it some form of motion, guys.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carl, I meant what I say, because one thing I know, you got a heck of a tan, so you're not thinking about us back in the city, Public Safety Department, but we definitely miss you, and we want you to have a wonderful retirement, and I'm sure the chief will be calling you for any consultations once in a while, but you've been a phenomenal employee, and they don't come down the pike very often like you do. I want to present this to you, and you're welcome to say anything you want to, and then I'd like for you to go past the city council and shake everybody's hand, okay?
Okay.
Chief has a presentation first,
Chief,
don't you?
okay. You want to come on up? You want Carl to say after you give your presentation? Go ahead, Carl.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager and Council, I'd just like to say just one or two brief things. One was, feel honored to work at the city. All these years, it's the only job I've had for the last 28 years. I was lucky enough to keep it, worked hard. And I will say this, one thing I enjoyed about the city, the government was always stable. You know, as you rise up in rank, you get to learn from other governments and local governments, and you realize that, stable government helps. It makes it easier. Not that I'm not always going to agree with everything, but that's the way it's supposed to work. That's why you have different people in charge. The biggest thing I want to say is keep the standards high for all your departments and public safety. I worked with some wonderful people. City manager came up and asked me if I missed it. I said, well, I missed the people. I work with some wonderful people. My three bosses are here, Major Rector, Major Bradshaw, and Chief Talbert, and they've been here a long time too, and I miss their leadership and their friendship, and I really miss that. And I've had the opportunity to train from one end of the state all the way to Kentucky, different Army bases for training over the years, and keep the training up, keep the professionalism up, keep the standards high. You get what you pay for, and it's been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. Chief?
In keeping with the tradition of public safety, certainly retiring supervisor and captain is of Karl's stature and his years of experience, we'd like to award to him his fire services helmet and also his service pistol.
And it is an honor for me to pay this dollar on your behalf. And it is mine, not the mayor's.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah. The box is at the house.
Carl, I still would come, yeah.
Carl, thank you.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carl, good night. Thank you.
Carl, I'll let y'all leave, because I'm sure you don't want to sit here and listen to a boring city council meeting. Thank you again for all your service. public advocacy issues and strategies, I want to mention a couple of things that we have going on in this community over the next few weeks. Our 31st Annual Historic Morganton Festival is coming off on September 7 and 8, the weekend after Labor Day, as always, and we look forward to a very good one. We have two young and up-and-coming country music stars. They both have had hit 100 up on the top of the charts for the country charts. Kip Moore is Friday night, and Jared Neiman is on Saturday night. And we're looking forward to, again, a wonderful festival and a safe festival because of public safety and all the good city people that help us and the volunteers that we have to keep this festival going each year. We still have two farmers markets going. We have the farmers market down at the depot on Saturday from 8 to 12, and on Wednesday up on the corner of Avery and Green, and it goes from 12 to 6 or 2 to 6. And if anything else, Sally? Okay. Anything from any of the council members? Okay, we'll move on. Power Agency?
Have one thing, and Scott may talk a little bit about this later, but we continue to do some work at the industrial park and have installed some solar lighting in the entranceway out there, and would like to give those images and let you see that. That was a joint project between BDI, Electricities, and the city of Morganton, and we are really proud to have those installed out there. And maybe Chad can bring those up. If not, we can look at them later.
There they are.
There we go.
Solar powered.
And they're kind of nice, and invite you to go out and take a look at those, and we're proud to have those installed out there.
Very good. I'd like to make a motion that we consider changing our September council meeting from the first Monday because of Labor Day to the second Monday, and I believe it's the 13th.
That will be from the 3rd to the 10th.
Yeah, 3rd to the 10th, I'm sorry, 10th of September.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Consent agenda, Sally.
The consent agenda before you tonight includes 2 items, and we consider those to be non-controversial. Would ask that you consider them in a single motion unless someone would like something removed and discussed separately. You have 2 sets of minutes, a regular meeting on June the 4th, a special meeting on June the 18th, and then 2 sets of tax releases. That is $137.47 for July and $3,581.33 for August.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, appearances, Scott Darnell with BDI, Burke Development Incorporated.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We would love to give you just an update of some things that are happening at Burke Development. At the 1st of July, we added a new person to our team. Her name was Sarah Chester. She is a 2003 graduate of Freedom High School. When she left Freedom, she went to the UNC, received a degree in journalism, and her responsibility will be marketing, project management, and more of a social media output for our message. A lot of great things are happening in the community. It's great that we know about them, but it's also great that the rest of the world knows about them. Sarah is well versed in doing that. There's a lot of partnerships coming to place, and it's continuing to put the message out there, letting people know about these opportunities in Morganton and Burke County. So many of you met Sarah, I think, today, but she'll be very visible in a lot of the meetings going forward, and we're excited to have her on our team. One of the things Sarah's working on is the website's being redeveloped. It's only about 2 years old, but there's new technology. It's time to refresh it, and it'll have more of a theme. There's some niche opportunities we'll be asking the board to further look at going forward. Those niche opportunities are designed to build upon our continued strengths and to really separate us from some of the competition in our competitive environment we work in. We're also looking to always address challenges with the business community or the economic development community, and how do we turn those challenges into opportunities. That's important because, not all challenges are just, so pie in the sky, can't be addressed. So we'll be looking at continuing to do those moving forward. From an economic climate standpoint, we see a lot every month on unemployment. I want to point some statistics out. Our unemployment is currently 10.7%. You know, a year ago this time it was 13%. I'll be the first to say unemployment's not a total indication of the health of an economy. It's easy to move numbers up or down. More being added into the workforce can skew it, more leaving the workforce, those not seeking, but it is an indicator. If you take the indicator and look at the positive things with the articles just the past couple of weeks, the exciting developments at the WRS, new Morganton Heights development, the great job Sharon's done with the vacancy rates downtown, the things we talked about with the expansions and new locations of industries we feel confident about. And in the general climate of the positive things happening in the community, I think we are in a good situation going forward. If you took our number and compared it to others, is a better indicator. Our unemployment today is lower than Cleveland and Gaston counties. They're experiencing more natural growth from the Charlotte community. It's a little more than Lincolnton, but it's trending the lowest in the uniform and it has for the past couple of months. So we've got to continue doing the things that are bringing benefit, but there are some positive things happen. It's a great team effort, and I wanted to recognize those positive things that city staff and other agencies are doing, but there are positive things going forward. From the general standpoint of local businesses, everyone's cautiously optimistic. You know, there's a good report on Monday, there's a bad report on Tuesday on the press. However, you know, some of those things are beyond our control, and they are moving forward some great investments in the facilities, and they're continuing to invest in people. That's an important thing for us. As long as these other things continue to happen, I think we have some positive, you know, trends coming forward. You know, the last thing Sally pointed out, the solar lighting, we're really proud of that. You know, we could have put just a normal street light out there, but her willingness and Electricity's department of that, it's not only the solar lighting, but every one of the plants in that park's grown within 10 miles of that location. So the environmental sustainability side is that park is pretty much a great selling tool when it comes to a company that embraces those values. So we're proud to see that. And I'll leave you on the last thing. We started a project for workforce development called Project Renew. We graduated that class about 6 weeks ago. 44 graduated, 50 started the program. 3 of the 50 quit when they gained full-time employment when they started the program. We graduated the 44, 37 of those candidates have full-time jobs already. And the goal of that program was to have 22 placed out of the 44, so we exceeded that. And we started the new program a couple weeks ago, and we currently have 34 enrolled in that. So there's a lot of positive things happen. I would like, you know, on behalf of BDI, you know, thank you for your continued support, and, you know, most importantly, thank you for the access and the great resources the staff and the departments have in the city. We couldn't do a lot of these projects without them, but, you know, again, thank you, and please let us know how we can continue providing services to the city of Morganton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you being here. We're going to move into a public hearing, but first, Dan Brown's in the back of the room, and speaking of electricity, Dan's retiring on the 23rd, or this month, and we're going to miss you, Dan, and we'll see you at your party on the 23rd, but you'll be a hard person to replace, I must tell you. Under public hearing, I'm going to open a public hearing to consider amending the rezoning conditions for a proposed big box shopping center on 141.67 acres at 645 West Fleming Drive, the former Henry Don property, to allow phase 2 of the project to be developed in addition to the reuse of 218,000 square feet of existing light manufacturing space for light industrial and commercial activities. Sally.
This is one of those good news things that Scott was talking about. In August of 2009, you approved a conditional use ordinance and a permit for the beginning of the Morganton Heights Shopping Center project. At that time, we were working basically with phase 1, and we were looking at 357,000 square feet of new retail space that was going to be built on that site in accordance with the plans that you considered at that time. When we looked at that, there was anticipation of a major anchor, that being Walmart, 5 mini anchors, 3 rows of small shops, and then 7 individual out parcels. A lot of work has been done. The city council was able to take a field trip out there in between the rain this afternoon and take a look at the site and to see the work that is happening and to get a better feel for what we're talking about tonight. Since that time, there's been a few minor changes to the Phase 1 development. Now we have before us consideration for Phase 2. That's very good news. That means that the project is moving forward. Looking at the proposal to add 1 additional major anchor, an additional mini anchor, and 2 more sections of small shop spaces, bringing the total center space up to 455,487 square feet. And that's just a little bit less than what we originally looked for in the transportation study, but a very nice project. Also looking for you to consider tonight to approve preserving the 218,000 square feet of manufacturing space that's on the site, and in that, allowing some flexibility in how that could be used in the future and eliminating the residential plans that we had talked about from the project. And that's an overview. We'll tell you, and you have a lot of material in your booklet concerning this. The staff and the Planning Commission have both reviewed this, both recommend your approval contingent upon the conditions that are spelled out in your materials. And I'm sure if there's any questions or details, we have folks here able to talk about that.
Anyone wishing to speak against the project or for, you're welcome to do it now. You come forward and state your name and where you reside. Close the public hearing. Council.
Make the motion to recommend an amendment to the condition use permit ordinance 09-18Z for 645 of West Fleming Drive to permit additional development to take place on the subject site to include 1 additional major anchor, 1 additional mini anchor, and 2 more sections of small shop spaces in accordance with the plans dated June the 8th, 2012, and subject to the following additional conditions. The city shall receive and approve building elevation drawings for Anchor 1 within Phase 2 prior to building permit insurance. All elevation drawings submitted will need to provide adequate information to clearly indicate how each facade model complies with the standards for the architectural appearance criteria.
I'll read the other 2, Alfred.
Huh?
I'll read the other 2.
Okay.
The development may retain 218,000 square feet of the prior manufacturing building for adaptive reuse. The remaining space may be used for any permitted light industrial or general business use listed in the table of permitted uses of the city's zoning ordinance in accordance with all local, state, and federal requirements in place at the time of the building permit application for final upfit to accommodate the intended use. Number 3, the previous allocation of 144 residential units on the site shall be eliminated from the plans.
Second.
Okay, we have the second of the motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Gentlemen, keep doing good work. We appreciate it very much. Other business. Consideration of a preliminary plan for the Hunting Creek Landing Subdivision on 9.9 acres along the east side of Petite Road, adjacent to Hunting Creek, submitted by Habitat for Humanity. Sally.
I'd like to be excused from
I'd like to
this.
make a motion that we excuse John Cantrell, who is on the board of Habitat. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody object?
Yeah, there was not a second to your motion.
Second.
Okay.
Get her in
Now you can vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
there.
Aye.
Okay. The request has been received for a subdivision plan for this property, 211 Petite Road. It's near the edge of the ETJ for Morganton and is in an area that is zone residential transition. The proposal is to create a 15 single-family lot subdivision. The lots range in size from 20,000 square feet to 43,600 square feet. The developer is looking to construct one new public street within the development, and that would be constructed to North Carolina DOT standards rather than city standards. That's recognizing its location at the end of the ETJ, or the outer reaches of the ETJ. Looking at also requesting a dead-end street length that would be a little longer than the city's maximum by 100 feet, creating a 75-foot diameter cul-de-sac at the end of the street to allow for adequate turning movements for vehicles. 13 of those 15 lots would front on the new street that would be developed, and 2 of those would be accessed on Petite Road. There, you have a lot of information included in your packet that deals with the discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission. After discussion, both the staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission are recommending reviewing the plans and approving those with the waiver requests that are included in the proposal before you tonight.
Okay, thank you,
Make a
Sally.
motion to approve the Hunting Creek Landing preliminary subdivision plan with the waivers requested.
I second it, and is now in discussion. Anybody have any discussion about the project? I know you've read it, probably seen it on television. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you all for showing up.
Oh.
John, you just,
Just
you're
note
not
for the-
welcome back. I don't
Just
A
come
note
back.
for the record that Mr. Cantrell has returned.
He's just back.
Consideration of a resolution to apply for a Rural Center Building Reuse and Restoration Development Grant for Project Otter. Sally.
Did we
Number
Skip
3.
something.
Did we skip something? No,
Yeah.
I missed one, I'm sorry, I'm with you. You heard a report from Scott Darnell earlier about the economic development things that are going on. This is another one of those. Morganton and Burke County are working with BDI to apply for a building reuse and redevelopment grant from the North Carolina Rural Center. That would be used to renovate a currently vacant building, which is at 1401 Burkemont Avenue, formerly referred to as the Capri Building. Applying for a $240,000 grant that would require a 5% local match. $12,000 have to be paid by the city and have to be paid by Burke County. And Project Otter is expected to create 20 jobs over the next 18 months and to renovate and reuse that building.
Good news. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the city of Morganton to make application to the North Carolina Rural Center Building Reuse and Restoration Grants Program for Project Otter.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Consideration of award of bid for electrical contractor for Enola Road DOT project. Sally.
As you are aware, the widening of Enola Road is underway. On July 24th, the electric department opened bids for the relocation of our three-phase electric service along that road. We received 6 proposals, and the engineer working with us on that project is Southeastern Consulting Engineers. They, with the staff, review the proposals, recommend that you consider awarding the contract to Pike Electric. They are out of Mount Airy. That was the lowest responsible bidder. The bid amount is $305,015.86. We'll remind you that we will be reimbursed this cost by DOT as it included in this year's budget. There will be a little bit of additional work, some underground work, and some things that the city will be doing before the project is complete. Feel like that'll be somewhere in the range of $50,000 to $100,000. So this project is coming in well below the $758,000 that we budgeted.
Very good.
I move to award a bid for electrical contracting for the Enola Road DOT project to Pike Electric LLC at a cost of $305,015.86.
Second.
Have motion, we have a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consideration of award of water plant generator bid, Sally.
Okay. You'll recall that we received bids for this back in May, and at your June council meeting, you rejected those bids because they were all over budget, and directed the staff to rebid the project. And we did just that. On July the 6th, we received bids, found that we had 3 responsible bids that met the specifications, and are recommending that you consider accepting and awarding to Cummins Atlantic for their alternate number 2 bid, which is for $722,500.
Okay,
Move to award Cummins Atlantic alternate number 2 bid for $722,500.
second. Motion second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
I will point out one thing, this project is included in this year's budget, and it is slated to be financed, so we'll be bringing the financing bids back to you at the September meeting.
Consideration of purchasing a, a 7,000 sweeper on a piggyback bid for from the city of Lexington. Sally.
Swartz A7000 sweeper, and that is a street sweeper. It's going to replace our 2001 Johnson sweeper. You know, street sweeping is one of the things that we do. It's part of our street maintenance. It helps us with our compliance with stormwater requirements, helps to make the streets look nicer, and a variety of other things. We are fortunate enough that we are able to piggyback on the city of Lexington's bid, and we'll tell you that we are asking that you award this piggyback bid. Our amount is $164,688, and if you notice, Lexington's amount was $161,000. That's because there are several different options in the 2 bids that were included, and our choice of options is a little different than theirs, but we are getting the same pricing that they were afforded in this process. We'll also tell you that we budgeted $210,000, so this is a very welcome piggyback bid.
Within the budgeted Powell bill funds.
Yes, it is.
I'll make the motion to waive the formal bid process and purchase the Swartz a 7,000 sweeper in the amount of $164,688 from Carolina Environmental System, piggybacking on the contract award by the City of Lexington, Tennessee, April 23rd, 2012.
Second.
We have the motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Now, can I say something
You
here?
might be able
And this obviously is a public works bid, and I wanted to read something. A few weeks ago, I came into work, and it was about 20 minutes to 8, and my phone rang. And I said, "This is Sally," and a gentleman with panic in his voice said, "I am so glad you're there." He says, "This is Greg Bevan, and I am the manager in Pine Tops, North Carolina." And he said, "I am calling on a mission of mercy, and I desperately need some help." And I said, "So you're from Panetops?" And that's a joke. In eastern North Carolina, you call Pine Tops Panetops. And so he says, "You're from eastern North Carolina?" I said, "Well, I am." So immediately he seemed a little relieved. And he had an employee that was up here in a school at Western Piedmont, and the transmission had gone out of their truck. And I think that's probably one of maybe 3 trucks that their whole community owns. And he said, "I want to know if you all can help me out in any way." And I said, "Sure, we can help you. Let me call Scott. We'll take care of it." So called Scott, and of course they took care of everything, and I never really knew exactly how it ended up. But on July the 20th, except that we fixed it, everything was taken care of. On July 25th, I got this letter. "Miss Sandy, thank you for your help. Scott Lookadoo personally took our employee to get a rental car and gave us an excellent reference to repair his vehicle. It was very comforting to know that Sydney was being taken care of by staff from a sister community. Thank you again. I hope we can pay this forward."
Thank you, Scott. Goodwill, appreciate it. Did we vote? We did, didn't we?
You did.
We passed it.
Okay.
You're done.
Consideration of Broadplex service agreement, Sally.
This is an agreement that we have been working on and talking with you about for a couple of months. Broadplex has a fiber network within the community for the customers that Broadplex serves for high-speed internet and broadband service. We have an opportunity to contract with Broadplex in order to put in our system redundant connections to our head-end. Just like when we have ability in the electric system to switch delivery points if we have power outages and things like that, this would give us the opportunity to do this with our cable service. We are recommending to you that we consider a 5-year contract, and you have the contract included in your information. We would basically be leasing space on Broadplex's system, on their infrastructure. We have included in this agreement the ability to test this until February, so we will know before we finalize everything if it is working and if it is giving us the benefit that we would ultimately want to purchase. And then in February, we could look toward initiating the contract and paying the monthly rental fee. So that's the agreement before you tonight. If you need any details or anything answered, Bill Harkins is here tonight.
I move to approve a service agreement with Broadflex for a term of 5 years.
Second. We have the motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
I think it would be good if Bill would just get up in front of us and tell our citizens about Broadplex and about, in layman's terms, what this is doing.
Okay, I can do that. Basically what we have here, we've grown from about 155 megabits per second pipe out of here for the internet. So we doubled that about a while back, and we're at 310 megabits capacity right now. And we're using, ever since Christmas, everybody got new internet toys, and it's peaking at about 230 megabits per second. Okay, for that 310 megabits, we're paying $12,215 a month. What Broadplex is offering us is a connection at 1 gigabits per second, or more than 3 times faster than what we have now, for $4,715 less per month. That equates to about $57,000 in savings a year, or $170,000 in 3 years. And that doesn't even take into account what they would have charged us for the rest of that same bandwidth. So the savings here are tremendous. It also gives us a better connection. We'll be connected to Level 3, Cogent, and Global Crossing. These are like the 3 largest internet fiber-based companies in the world for internet communications. And we'll have kind of a blend of all 3 carriers. We'll be using a technology that will pick the best carrier available at the time. Whoever's doing the best job in their matrix that day, that's who we'll be on. So we'll have a much better, more dynamic connection, 3 times capacity, and we'll be saving a tremendous amount of money. And we'll have a redundant connection, one to Asheville and one to Charlotte. Right now, we're in a loop that comes from Charlotte and goes back to Charlotte. So if a tornado went through there anywhere and cut it, ripped everything up, we would be off. This way, if that happens in Charlotte, we still have it connected in Asheville. So it gives us a much more redundant connection.
Now, do you think that's for the layman?
Anyway, it'll save the city a ton of money.
That's pretty
Thank you,
simple,
Bill.
wasn't it?
Like mine
I
better,
understood the savings part.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions of Bill other than what John got answered? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank
That's
you.
why I'd say, Mel, just write in if you need any explanation on that.
That's right.
We,
I'll take care of it.
That's why he's in charge of that.
That's why we pay Bill the big bucks. That's right.
Consideration of an ordinance to effectuate the minimum housing code on property at 605 Avery Alexander Avenue. Alexander Avenue. Louis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The property at 605 Alexander Avenue, which is off Sanford Drive near the Catawba Meadows,
is owned by Ms. Wayburn Ramsey, who is an elderly lady who lives in a nursing home apparently in the Charlotte area. On that property was located an older frame house, which is apparently a rental property. It suffered very extensive damage in a fire that occurred in February of this year. And in your package, there are some photographs that depict the state of the remains of the house after the fire. It was virtually destroyed. Our Chief Building Inspector, Mike Krotz, made an inspection of the residence shortly after the fire, determined, and this is, I think, obvious even to the layman, that it was condemnable and unfit for human habitation. Of course, it's unoccupied, has been since then. It is open to the weather. There is substantial structural damage, and basically to all aspects of the house, structural, roof, wiring, HVAC, windows are all in very poor condition. Development Design Services began receiving complaints about the condition of the structure and its remains in March of this year. Code enforcement attempted to contact the owner. It turns out that she is apparently, as I say, in bad health and quite elderly. She has a power of attorney who I believe is her sister, a Ms. Alley, who has herself had health issues. The bottom line is it became obvious that the property was uninsured, evidently. It became obvious the owners were not able or willing to rebuild or repair the house, and in fact were probably not able or willing even to demolish it. Therefore, Mike Krotz, following the appropriate procedure, issued a notice of hearing to the property owners, setting a hearing for June 26th, that the house under our nuisance ordinance was condemnable. The hearing was held. There was no one in attendance. Mike then issued an appropriate order to remove or demolish the dwelling pursuant to our city code, and that was served back in July. No action has been taken. In the interest of full disclosure, I must say that there has been contact between Mr. Krotz and the family through various family members, and they've indicated they would be, might be willing to sign a voluntary consent. That was sent to them, but nothing has been received back as yet. Section 9-2070 of the code requires that before the building inspector may proceed beyond this point, in order to, and actually order and carry out the demolition of the remains of the structure, the city council must, by ordinance, specifically authorize that action, but can only do so after the owner has been given reasonable opportunity. In this case, numerous opportunities over a period of 5 months have been given, and no action has been taken. Some time ago, the Public Works Department was asked to provide an estimate of what it would cost the city to demolish and remove the house, and that is also in your material. As you can see, it comes to an estimated cost of some $12,864, of which Public Works has estimated that approximately $4,000 would be out-of-pocket cost to the city, of which the single largest item is the tipping fees to dispose of the remains, the material remains. Unfortunately, our budget for this year includes only $2,500 for nuisance abatement. Therefore, staff is also recommending that a budget amendment be made to appropriate an additional sum of $4,000 into the budget for the nuisance removal, so as to cover the out-of-pocket costs of this demolition. And of course, we're requesting action of the council to authorize the city to proceed with the actual demolition and removal of the structure.
Is that it?
That's it.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance and order directing the building inspector to effectuate the purposes of Article E, Part 9 of the Charter, and Code of Ordinances for the City of Morganton regarding property at 605 Alexander Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
And I
Yes. Yeah, a little discussion on it. Mr. Mayor, I'd like for the council just to be aware of the fact that in the city, there are other situations like this, and we have other neighborhoods where folks realize that they have damaged structures due to fire, and that they're in this similar situation. So hopefully the council would be favorable in other situations if we could look at those and maybe do something to assist other folks in other neighborhoods who have this same situation.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion to approve a budget amendment.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consideration of entering into the CDBG Small Business Loan Agreement with Tim and Kathy Turner, owners of the Pie Hole Pizza and Subs LLC. Sally?
You have set aside some money in your CDBG funds that we get from the federal government each year in order to support small businesses and to try to meet the guidelines as set out in the Mission 2030 goals to try to increase small business and travel and tourism and other opportunities. This is another one of those requests. The owners are looking to move their business and be able to expand that to accommodate more than the current location will. They would be moving from 200 Tate Street to 115 Independence Boulevard. The business is about 2.5 years old. They have applied for a $20,000 CDBG loan and are also working with the VDEC program to help fund their move as well.
I move we enter into a $20,000 CDBG loan agreement with Tim and Kathy Turner, owners of the Pie Hole Pizza and Subs LLC.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion?
We get any collateral on this?
Any collateral? You want some pizzas? Actually, the equipment and the things in
We'll take
the
pizza,
business.
too.
And, pizza may not be a bad one. But yes, we would take liens and things on the equipment and that sort of thing.
And that would be guarantees by Mr. and Mrs. Turner, I believe, is also part of that.
Okay. Have a motion? Yep, John made the motion.
You made it,
Alfred.
didn't I? Second.
Alfred
Alfred
seconded
seconded
it.
it.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Consideration of award a contract for fabrication and installation of wayfinding signage. Sally?
This is another one of those long-term projects. In 2008, hard to remember back that far, huh? The city contracted with Frazier and Associates out of Stanton, Virginia. Asked them to come in and help us try to develop a wayfinding program so that we could better sign attractions, locations, sites, places of interest in the community, partially to help with tourism efforts, attract newcomers, and also to let folks here know how to get to stuff and things that we have. This has taken a while. We have been through the proposal and have before you tonight, we took bids on June the 29th for fabrication and installation of what we're calling Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the program. Phase 1 would include signage for South Sterling Street, North Green Street, and a portion of Sanford Drive to Catawba Meadows Park. The Phase 2 portion would include Burkmont Avenue, a portion of West Union Street to downtown, and also included is new public parking directional markers, which would be for the entire downtown area to point out and to direct people to where public parking exists. We received 4 bids. Staff is recommending to you that you consider awarding to the lowest responsible bidder, and that would be ACSM, and that is in the amount of $89,727. That's for the materials and the installation. And we have $40,000 from last year's budget carried over and $50,000 in this year for a total of $90,000 budgeted.
Make a
Make a
motion to
motion.
authorize a contract for services to ACSM of Concord, NC for the amount of $89,727.
Second.
Have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion of?
I think it'd be good to point out that this signage there is no commercial businesses on the signage that we're putting up. It's is for public buildings and public locations.
Right. Thank you, sir. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consideration of amendment of a cell tower agreement, Hennessy Street, Glen Alpin, with Sprint Nextel. Sally.
We currently have an existing lease, and on the Glen Alpine water tank, we have several of those, actually. Sprint Nextel has assumed one of those leases, and they are looking at altering that. We currently have 3 telecommunications companies on that tank. They use it for cell service and then one for a relay service. They are hoping to attach 3 additional antenna on the tank, and that also requires some ground equipment to be installed. The price we have negotiated is an additional $12,000 per year, made in quarterly payments, and that does appear to be in line with the standard attachment fees and the other agreements that we have on other water tanks.
Okay, I'll make the motion to enter into an amended attachment agreement and lease with Sprint Nextel Corporation on the Glen Alpin water tank.
Second. Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
See, how many antennas do we have on that tank?
We currently have 3 companies using it for cell service and then one for relay service, and each service has 3 antenna for one service. Oh, and one has 6.
How much do we get for all those antennas, do you know?
Nice piece of change.
24,000 for the additional one. So the first 3 per company are 24,000 a year, and then in this case, the additional one would be 12,000.
Okay.
It might be appropriate if we ask, this will add to the tax base of Glen Alpin. Maybe we ought to get a cut.
Consideration of a cooperative agreement with the U.S. National Park Service, Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail, and approval of a contract with Exploring Gerara Foundation. Sally.
You skipped over that. We've got an attorney that might be able to work that out. Just kidding.
Be a small conflict there.
Just look into it.
As you all are very aware, the city of Morganton and other groups within the county and other groups in the region actually are excited and have been working to pursue the opportunity for the national headquarters for the OVT Trail to be located at the Rocky Ford Access Area, which is a site that they have chosen as their preferred location for the facilities. Of course, with everything comes the need for money, and so that is what is waiting to happen in order for this to become a reality. One of the first steps, however, is to do this archaeological survey. The National Park Service has requested that the city administer that. They have also notified us, as indicated in the agreement, that they will provide $6,000 for that. So the first thing we're asking you to do is to approve that agreement. The second thing would be to approve a budget amendment accepting the dollars and then budgeting for those to go out. The third thing is an agreement the staff has negotiated with David Moore, who is the senior archaeologist with the Exploring Gerara Foundation, to do the work for the $6,000.
Lee and Sally, I'll address a question, both of y'all. I'm assuming the county has been approached for helping us funding on this, haven't they?
Well, we are not funding this. The National Park Service is funding
This
this.
part.
This part.
To help us with the
Now,
overall.
the overall thing, there's a wide group of people that are working toward trying to get funding for that.
Because we're in Burke County, and this is part of enhancing Burke County's historic significance, right?
We understand.
Okay. Motion to enter into a cooperative agreement with the U.S. National Park Service, Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail, to receive grant funds for the purpose of implementing an archaeological survey.
Second.
All right, have a second. Any discussion of that one? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion to adopt a budget amendment to receive and expend $6,000 as per the cooperative agreement.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion of that one? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to enter into a Phase 1 archaeological survey and evaluation contract with Exploring Gerora Foundation for $6,000.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion of that one? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consideration of appointment to the Cable Television Commission, Sally.
Have had a vacancy on that commission for a Western Piedmont appointee, and they have sent us a suggestion, and that is Mr. Jim Coleman is the Associate Dean of Technology, and just requires for you to certify that appointment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I want to make a consideration of an amendment, an appointment by the city council of one person to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, Sally.
A vacancy
This
exists.
is new addition, by the way.
Yeah, these are two items laid before you tonight. As of August 5th, the seat of Bill Davis has, that term has expired, and you need to consider an appointment for that position. And he has agreed to continue to serve if you so choose.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Bill Davis to another term on the...
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
There are no age limits to this?
Not for Bill.
You know, I'm gonna do this like I do a lot of our, all in favor say aye, and I'm not gonna ask for any no.
Who would dare?
Okay, consideration of a professional services agreement to provide Phase 2 of the stormwater assistance, Sally.
You'll recall that for several years, in order to meet our Phase 2 stormwater permitting, there is a certain amount of public education and outreach that has to happen. This region has chosen to do that through the Western Piedmont COG in order to try to save all the individual units trying to comply with that some dollars, and they have provided this service. This is the professional contract from them to allow them to continue doing that. We budgeted for this, and the contract is for $4,941. That is Morganton's share.
I move to approve a professional services agreement with the Western Piedmont Council of Government for Phase 2 stormwater, public outreach, and educational services in the amount of $4,941.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I want to make mention, I forgot to make it earlier, but we had a major segment on Channel 3, downtown Morganton making a comeback, August 1st, 2012. I hope all of you saw it on Channel 3 a few nights ago. It was a good segment of Steve Ongesource, and stating about our downtown. Anything further from the council members? Meeting adjourned.